Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into, well, a really interesting AI puzzle, how these systems actually recognize things.
Yeah, you sent over that research about training AI models, specifically looking at fish identification.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
the surprising thing is, sometimes adding more information, like a new category,
Hmm.
can actually uh, make the AI more confused. It seems counterintuitive.
It really does. You'd think, more data, better results, always, but it's definitely more complex than that.
So let's lay out the scenario. We have two AIs, Model A and Model B.
Okay,
Model B was trained specifically on a fish category. Clownfish were in there. Model A, though, had no training on fish at all.
got it. So one knows fish, one doesn't.
Precisely. And we're going to look at how they both did when shown first a picture of a dolphin, which is definitely not a fish,
Right, a mammal.
and then a picture of a clownfish, which is a fish Model B learned about. This should give us a pretty clear picture, I think.
Yeah, it sets up a nice comparison. How does that specific training change how it sees things it should know versus things it shouldn't?
Okay, first hurdle, the dolphin. How did Model A handle it? The one without the fish training.
Well, it actually did pretty well, relatively speaking. 96.7% of the time, it labeled the dolphin undefined label.
Which basically means I have no clue what this is.
Exactly. It's saying this doesn't fit any category I know, which is
Yep.
honestly the correct response for an unknown item.
Did it ever misclassify it?
Occasionally, yeah. About 3.3% of the time, it thought the dolphin was a boat. Maybe the water, the shape, something triggered that.
Okay, still, mostly sensible for something completely new to it. Now, Model B, the one that was trained on fish, how did it do with the dolphin?
Ah, this is where it gets interesting. Model B misclassified the dolphin as a fish almost a quarter of the time, 23.3%.
Wow, okay. So knowing about fish made it more likely to mistake a dolphin for a fish.
It seems so. It only labeled it undefined label about 76.7% of the time, so it was less accurate at recognizing the unknown in this case.
Why the mix-up? Why would knowing fish make it see a dolphin as one?
It really boils down to just visual similarity. AI, fundamentally, is a pattern matching machine.
Right.
Model B learned patterns associated with fish, maybe streamlined shapes, fins, being in water. Dolphins, visually share some of those superficial traits.
So it's like it saw enough fishy features and jumped to that conclusion without any real understanding.
Precisely. It doesn't know biology. It just knows pixels and patterns it was trained on. It latched onto similarities and ignored the mammal part it never learned.
That's a key point. It can't recognize what it hasn't explicitly learned or learned to differentiate from.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about the clownfish, the actual fish?
How do they handle that one?
Let's start with Model A again, the fish ignorant one.
Okay, Model A mostly stuck to its guns, undefined label, about 83.3% of the time.
Still saying, I don't know.
Yep. Interestingly, the other 16.7% of the time, it guessed orange.
Orange, just based on the color.
Seems likely. It saw a prominent color feature, maybe recognized elsewhere, and went with that. Completely missed the fish aspect, obviously.
Okay, now Model B. It was trained on clownfish as part of the fish category. How did it do?
Much better here, as you'd expect. It correctly identified the clownfish as fish 80% of the time.
So the training clearly helped for recognizing things within the trained category.
Definitely. But notice it wasn't perfect. 20% of the time, it still labeled the clownfish as undefined label.
So even with direct training, there's still some uncertainty.
Yeah, AI classification is often probabilistic. It's rarely 100% certain.
Okay, let's sort of summarize the core finding here. Training Model B on fish made it much better at spotting actual fish, like the clownfish.
Correct. Big improvement there.
But it came at a cost. That same training made it more likely to misclassify something visually similar but unrelated, like the dolphin, as a fish.
Exactly. And meanwhile, Model A, without that specific fish knowledge, was actually better overall at knowing when it didn't know something, using that undefined label more appropriately for both the dolphin and the clownfish.
So there's this clear trade-off. Specialization improves recognition of the known, but potentially hurts recognition of the unknown or vaguely similar things.
Right. And it highlights that just throwing more data or more categories at an AI isn't automatically going to make it smarter or more reliable overall. It can create these blind spots.
So what are the solutions? How do we get AIs that are good at recognizing specifics, but also good at saying, I don't know, when faced with something genuinely new or ambiguous?
Well, one really promising direction is using hierarchical labeling.
Hierarchical, like levels of categories.
Exactly. Instead of just a flat category like fish, you might have, say, animal. Then underneath that, marine life. And under that, you'd have fish, mammal, crustacean,
Like
etc.
folders and subfolders, giving it more context and relationships between concepts.
Precisely. It helps the AI build a more structured understanding, which can reduce those kinds of simple visual similarity errors. Another technique is using multiple AI models.
Running the image past several different AIs.
Yeah, and maybe using confidence filtering. If one model is very unsure or if different models give wildly different answers for the same image, you can treat that result with suspicion. Maybe flag it for human review or just reject it as unreliable.
That makes a lot of sense. Sort of getting a second opinion or checking how confident the first opinion is. Why is understanding all this so critical?
Well, think about where AI is being used. Self-driving cars need to tell the difference between a pedestrian and I don't know, a shadow that looks vaguely human-shaped.
Right. High stakes.
Very high stakes. Or in medical imaging, mistaking an artifact for a tumor or vice versa.
Mm.
Reliability and, crucially, knowing the limits of your knowledge are paramount. We need AI that doesn't just guess confidently when it's unsure.
So wrapping up, the big takeaway seems to be that AI learning is powerful but sensitive. Training helps recognition, but visual similarities can easily trick systems that lack real-world understanding.
And recognizing the unknown is a fundamentally different and perhaps a harder challenge for AI than recognizing the known.
It really drives home that intelligence isn't just about knowing things, but also knowing what you don't know.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating how this mirrors issues outside of AI too. Specialization in any field can sometimes narrow your perspective.
That's a great point. So here's something for you, the listener, to think about. Where else in life might deep specialization create unexpected blind spots? Could we apply some kind of hierarchical labeling to our own thinking to avoid similar missteps? Definitely food for thought. Thanks for diving in with us today.